We are live. Welcoming everybody to the Week 8 preview show. I'm here with my good friend Garrett Greenlee of the Football Analysis Channel. As always, 3 p.m. here on Fridays. You guys can get used to that if you aren't already. Garrett decided to let me take the intro here. The resident Vikings fan there had a bit of a rough night last night, so we're gonna let him off the hook just for today. I decided I was originally going to actually wear a Vikings shirt and kind of rub it in a little bit, but hey, it's Rodgers Packers week. I dug this out of the closet. I bought a conference champions shirt that year because I was so unconvinced that we could actually win the Super Bowl and beat the Steelers. So this is a great throwback week. But for you, my friend, how are you doing?
I've had better days. But look, football's here. I'm not going to be a vibe killer. Football. Look, we got a weekend to preview. I'm not going to sit here and sulk and have that be everybody else's problem. Look, we got a lot of games to preview, and there's a lot of good games this week. And look, do you just want me to kick it off with Falcons?
Take it, all you.
All right. Do you know how many points the Falcons are favored by? Because I'm going to be honest, I don't think it's enough, because the Dolphins right now, they are they're a bad team. There's no sugarcoating how bad this team is. They lost by 25 points last week to the Browns, and the Dolphins are 1-9 in their last 10 road games. They're dead last in defensive EPA per play. Miami last week, they shot themselves in the foot so many times. They were 1 of 13 last week on third down. They had 70 yards and penalties in the first 32 minutes of the game. There was a Minkah penalty on an interception, which Dolphins fans, you could very much argue that was a ticky-tack call. But a lot of times in football, as simple as it is, it's how you respond to adversity when you get punched in the mouth, if you will. And immediately after that play, not 3 plays after, but the very next play on a ticky-tacky pass interference call, Quinshon Judkins ran for a 46-yard touchdown. Atlanta this year, coming off losses, has been a really good team, and I don't expect that to change in this game. And for reference, right now, the Falcons are 3-3. They lost 23-20 to the Bucs in week 1. They smoked the Vikings in week 2. They lost to the Panthers 30-0 in week 3. They beat the Commanders and then beat the Bills. The following game, they had the bye week between the Commanders and Bills. And now they've lost to the 49ers. Now, I don't think Michael Penix played great last week against the 49ers, but the Dolphins are, like we said, dead last in defensive EPA per play. Right now, with where the Dolphins are, with how much Tua is just a punching bag at the press conference every week, because he's given out terrible quotes every single week. This week was he couldn't see Jalen Waddle, so that was why he didn't target him last week. All things considered, I think that's a pretty embarrassing quote for your $200 million franchise quarterback to say that. But anyway, I think the Falcons win this pretty comfortably, needless to say. It's a get-right game. Miami is the get-right game. You just lost by 25 points to another 1-5 team. You're a very poorly coached team. You're a very undisciplined team. Atlanta by a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it will be interesting to see if Miami can muster any sort of team morale to keep playing for this season. I feel like the first few weeks it was there. We saw that Bills Thursday night game. They've been in a lot of close games, but after you go up to Cleveland, you get a reiteration of the whole this team can't play outside in bad weather narrative.
Yeah.
Tua plays like crap. Everybody in that building knows where this is going. Meanwhile, Atlanta still has a lot to play for here. I agree with everything you said. I think the matchup favors Atlanta quite a lot as well. The Dolphins are 25th in rushing DVOA. The one hope, if you even want the Dolphins to win this game, if you're a Dolphins fan, but the one hope there is, like, Michael Penix has not played well at all. I actually saw a chart today that was shared out that I thought was really interesting. I've never seen these metrics, especially in this format, but it was on the x-axis was the creator index of like how often a quarterback is creating plays when there is pressure. And then there was I can't remember exactly what it was titled, but it was basically how often quarterbacks are bailing out of clean pockets and trying to create when they don't need to. And at the very butt end of where you don't want to be on that chart in the bottom left was Michael Penix saying he's bailing out of clean pockets and he's not creating when he is pressured. And I think that matches the tape, frankly. I was a little suspect of, how that is kind of a a subjective thing to try to quantify there, but definitely matches the Penix tape. So Penix has to play better, but maybe in this game he doesn't, because the Dolphins are 25th in run defense DVOA. This should be a big Bijan Robinson game, and I like the way the Falcons defense matches up in this one too. So I agree. Falcons should certainly win this one by more than a touchdown, in my opinion. Okay, let's go down to Charlotte, North Carolina. We're up to Charlotte from Atlanta.
There we go. There we go.
Special shout out in this one to the Buffalo Bills community of Charlotte, North Carolina. Having lived there for 6 months, there are, I'm not going to say as many Panthers fans as there are Bills fans, but there are a lot of Bills fans in Charlotte. And a special shout out to Tavern on the Tracks Bar, which I don't know if it's going to be bumping for this game or not, because I figure a lot of the people that usually go there are going to be at the game. And then Basante Pizza Company as well, that was right down the street from my apartment in Charlotte. But anyway, there's going to be some good people in Charlotte having fun with this one. This is a fascinating matchup. You've got the Bills coming off of back-to-back losses and the bye week, a pissed off Bills team going against a Panthers team that, yes, Bryce Young is questionable, but I don't know how much, whether
he's actually doubtful.
Or not. Doubtful. He's doubtful. Okay.
Yeah, confirmed doubtful. Yep.
With how I think the key factors in this game are going to play out, I don't know that makes a huge difference. I would prefer to have Bryce than Dalton, but it's also nice to have one of the better backups in the league in Andy Dalton to give you a chance at least. But you're talking about here this Panthers rushing offense that is 7th in the league in rushing DVOA. We've seen what Rico Dowdle has done. Going back to late last year, this team has turned into a pretty damn good rushing offense. And the Bills are 32nd by a substantial margin in run defense DVOA. So coming off the bye week, can the Bills buckle up a little bit and strap in and actually stop the run? Because if Carolina at home is just running all over, keeping Josh Allen off the field, that's going to be an avenue for them to win this game. So just all eyes are on that matchup, especially from the Bills' perspective, if they can clean up their tackling and get to the ball better. But then on the flip side of things, you have the Panthers rushing defense, and their defense overall is playing much better, but they are 3rd in the NFL in run defense DVOA this year. That really has just blown me away compared to what they were last year. Felt like they were giving up 200 yards a week last year. Well, I think in this game, they can take away some of the easier stuff that Josh Allen and this offense likes to do. I think they did a great job in that Dolphins game of doing that, which was going to be, for whatever you want to say about the Dolphins, they are good at the early down offense stuff and putting you in a bind, just as the Bills do. So I think they can force Josh Allen into drop back pass situations, and maybe Ejiro Evero can throw some blitzes at him, which the Bills have had problems with as well. Now, that was a pretty optimistic Panthers spin. I'm going to be taking the Bills in this game. I do think they are significantly better as a team, and Josh Allen, he's a superhero, dude. So I think if you force him into those drop back pass situations, he's going to get his. But there are some matchup advantages in the Panthers' favor that could make this an interesting game.
I do agree with the especially, well, the last point specifically with that they could make it interesting. I know the Panthers are a much better team at home than they are on the road, and it was good for them to improve to 4-3 last week. You beat a Jets team that was the Jets. I'll just kind of leave it at that. The 2025 Jets, and again, a win's a win, so I don't want to discredit that. But you have a Bills team coming off a bye that was in some ways embarrassed for the Bills, especially for how Buffalo is, for how good they are the previous week. I'm not going to bet against the Bills in this specific situation. Although I do want to, I love the fact that you brought up how much better Carolina's run defense is this year compared to last. Obviously, last year was an absolute nightmare, and it was historically one of the worst defenses. And, you love to see signs of improvement, but I think there's some people getting a little carried away with the Panthers. Like, hey, we're 4-3. Could we finish the year 10-7, 11-6? I don't think that's going to be the case, but I think Buffalo wins this one, and 27-17, 27-20, somewhere in there. I think Buffalo wins not fairly comfortably, but Andy Dalton's also starting, but I think Buffalo wins this game without too much hassle, if you will.
Yeah, I see it 30-20, probably Buffalo.
All right,
Okay, where are you going next?
we are going to Philly for Giants Birds, and
Okay.
this is a rematch from a couple weeks ago. The biggest thing that I have here is how do the Giants respond after last week? 33 fourth quarter points allowed, and I've said this before that I think there's a tremendous difference as a fan from being 2-5, which the Giants are now, versus being 3-4, and that was, I mean, it was a tough loss. Obviously, that undersells just how bad the game was for the Giants last week at the end, and then Brian Burns and the tunnel going back, and it's tough right now for the Giants. And how does Cam Cataboo and Jackson Dart play against this team that they played really well against a couple of weeks ago? And it's, I mean, this is a huge game, man. And the Birds also have a lot of questions because right now, Cam Jurgens is either questionable or not expected to play. And not only that, but the Birds last week, I know Jalen Hurts obviously had a tremendous game. And that was, I mean, a perfect passer rating, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. Smitty had a career high in receiving yards. But there's also a part of the Birds that, you know, while that's nice, they're like, they want to run the football. That is who they are. They want to run the football. And I mean, Saquon's obviously, I mean, he was always going to have a regression year in terms of statistics. It was going to be near impossible for him to go back-to-back 2,000 yards. And, you know, even if he had 1,800 yards, in theory, that's a regression. But there's conversations worth having about, okay, what should we expect from Saquon Barkley for the rest of the year? And that doesn't help with Cam Jurgens out this week, now, or potentially out this week. And there's also the A.J. Brown kind of drama right now. I don't know if you saw this week, but he posted a picture on Instagram, or pictures. I don't know what the whole thing was. He posted on Instagram. The caption was "using me, but not using me." This was in a game last week where A.J. Brown had 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I don't know, man. I feel like that has to be noted because of how big of a thing that is. And with the A.J. Brown diva situation, with everything, and you know, you weren't being used earlier in the year. Now you are used. You have 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. You're still upset. There's a lot of noise for the Birds, to be completely honest. And despite them being 5-2, but with the Eagles offense looking the way it did last week, at least from a passing game standpoint, and Jalen Hurts, I mean, we can call it what it is because he responded as well as he did. He looked horrendous against the Giants in that game a couple weeks ago. And for Jalen Hurts to bounce back in the face of adversity the way he did, I am going to go with the Birds to win this game. I also don't trust the Giants, specifically coming off of a 33-point fourth quarter allowed. And the way that happened, I trust the Eagles. I trust their coaching staff. I trust the talent. And I think the Eagles are going to improve to 6-2.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, my gut is definitely telling me, like, yeah, Eagles should have a lot of, you know, revenge energy in this game. I think the biggest thing is, you nailed it. Like, is Jalen Hurts, sorry, getting a spam call.
So maybe tell me about your car's extended warranty, by the way.
Oh yeah, I got to re-up that. But yeah, Jalen Hurts, the pocket presence, the way he was navigating pressure is like, who is this Jalen Hurts? I'm very curious against a very good pass rusher with the Giants. How does that translate now into a second week? Because if something was unlocked with Jalen Hurts, if he saw something on film or made an adjustment and something's different there, like, the whole can of worms is open with having to reevaluate who he is. Because that's been a huge criticism of mine on him is just how he manages pressure and how he chooses to, extend plays or not extend plays. But anyway, I'm excited to see how he can play there. If there is a lot of FU energy in this game from the Eagles, or was there something about this matchup in that first game that does mean the Eagles are going to come out and win this one again? I definitely lean towards the Eagles at home taking down the Giants in this one. So I'm considering them on the spread this week. I'm going to have to think a little bit more about it. But definitely going to take the Eagles to win this one.
I do have a super chat from Rodney. He says Hurts is better than Herbert. He didn't throw a pick against that Brian Flores defense. And it was funny, if you saw the Herbert pick last night, it was tipped, and Hurts had a perfect pass rating against the Brian Flores defense. So embrace debate is basically the takeaway from that. Also, I don't know if I mentioned this. This is worth noting. The Birds are wearing Kelly green jerseys. I feel like that's
all right. I'm
worth,
taking the Eagles.
that's worth something. I mean,
I'm taking the Eagles.
those jerseys are worth something. You know, it's
I don't care how many points it is.
So
Elite
want to at
aesthetic.
least include that. Go Birds. And if
Yeah.
you see a Eagles fan, always say "Go Birds."
All right. I'm going to go to Houston for their first home game, by the way. The Houston Texans, their first home game in 30 days.
True.
Crazy scheduling. Mislook. That's not the word I'm looking for, but yeah, they return to home here in a desperation type of night or day for Houston. They cannot afford to fall to 2-5 at this point. It feels like they're in the wild card hunt, not so much the division hunt with how good the Colts are playing this year. But I do kind of like the Texans in this one. I think obviously the thing you got to look for though is the offensive line for Houston. They don't have to deal with the talent discrepancy that Seattle had against them with basically 7 guys on that defensive line that are better than anybody that Houston has. But they are going to have to deal with a lot of blitzes and twists and games and stuff that they have really struggled with going back to last year. And it's been the defining, crippling weakness for them. So that's the matchup to watch. I don't think that you're going to see all of their problems fixed overnight, but especially with Bryce Huff questionable in this game, he has not practiced the last 2 days. That would be another significant blow with all the injuries they've had. He has defaulted to being their best defensive player with Warner and Bosa out. If he now can't go, I mean, just how much can this defense survive? And Bryce Huff was really good last week. So that's something to keep an eye on for sure. But as long as the offensive line can just be not even adequate, just like below average, like just be the 32nd worst offensive line, but like practical, if you know what I'm saying. Like right now, they cannot communicate anything up front. As long as they can come up with some kind of a game plan, whether it's extra men in protection or something, I think they can do enough offensively in this game to come out of this one at home as victors. But it's not to take away from the coaching that the Niners have had this year on both sides of the ball. They've been ultra competitive. You also have the Brock Purdy factor in this one. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? It's like, have we heard anything there? Have you heard anything there?
I think they're leaning back personally, but that's just me.
You think so?
I do.
It's interesting because it feels like this is the second week in a row where he's kind of practiced, but you know, maybe it's like a soft bench. I don't know what's going on there.
Soft bench. Don't get me started. Anyway.
I do think this would be a game. And if it is, it's chat's also saying it seems like Mac's going to play, but I do think this would be a game where I would actually want Purdy out there for sure because of his play extension ability. I do think, I do think like that is what he brings to the table as opposed to Mac Jones is the ability to get out of sacks and make stuff happen, because I do think this Texans defense is going to make things pretty damn tough on the Niners here. The last note I had here is that the Texans run defense hasn't been their usual self. DeMeco Ryans has had a top 5 run defense for like 5 straight years, going back to his time with the Niners. Fun revenge game, by the way, or just a fun kind of rivalry battle between Saleh and DeMeco in this one for sure. The master meets the apprentice, if you will. But the Texans are 18th in run defense DVOA right now. They haven't been their usual self against the run, but in a huge matchup in their third home game here in week 8, can they crank those numbers up a little bit, slow down Christian McCaffrey, and especially if it's Mac Jones, I think they can make him uncomfortable in the pocket with how good that pass rush is. So I'm leaning Houston. If this shakes down where like Bryce Huff doesn't play and it's Mac Jones, I might even take them to cover the spread, but I'm not quite that confident to do it. I'm going to go like 23-21 Houston right now.
I'm going to be honest. Look, the Niners have been really impressive just throughout the entire season with the amount of injury. They just keep going. And I'm not impressed with the Texans at all. Just offensively speaking, by the way, definitely offensively speaking. And with the way that Bob Saleh has done a tremendous job this year, just, dealing with everything that he has, I don't think that the Texans are going to be able to outscore the 49ers. And that's sometimes it's as simple as that. Like, hey, who do you think is going to put up more points? I know the Texans defense has played a lot better, but the Texans last week, if we're being honest, they should have been, I mean, that game shouldn't have been that close, and at least final score wise. And the Seahawks had a chance to go up 3 scores. They had Cooper Kupp throw a ball in the red zone. That was an interception. That was a very just poor decision, but the Texans should not have been close in that game. It should not have been. I don't think the Texans are that good. And somebody did comment here. I had a comment here that I wanted to read because it's pretty much how I feel. It was the concept was, why would you trade away your best lineman when you saw how much CJ Stroud got beat last year? And not surprisingly, we're seeing that this year. And I know the 49ers have Nick Bosa out. I know Fred Warner's obviously not a designated pass rusher, but he's still out. But look, I'm still going to take the 49ers to win this game. I think it's going to be 20-17, 20-14, somewhere in there. I'm honestly kind of surprised the Texans are favored in this game. I mean, they're coming home on a short week already, and I don't know what the Texans have shown to be favored over the 49ers, and credit to Kyle Shanahan for everything that they've had to go through this year. I'm going to take the 49ers to win this game personally.
I think it's fair. I think as far as the Texans being favored, the fact that they haven't had those home games, their losses are all 1-score losses to good teams.
That's fair.
They lost by 5 to the Rams, 1 to the Bucks when they were still relatively healthy. They lost by a touchdown to the Jags, and they lost by 8 to the Seahawks last week. So their expectations were obviously very high. Their wins also, by the way, 44-10 against a bad Ravens team, all beat up, and 26-0 against the Titans. So I think their resume is a little underrated. I think the defense is still about as good as we advertised it coming into the year. It's just a matter of you got to find some level of adequacy with the offensive line. The other big injury is Nico Collins as well. There's a lot of big injuries that we need to see how they're going to play out for this one. So, should be an interesting one with the Texans basically trying to save their season here. Okay.
Bears, Ravens.
Okay.
Within this, first off, Lamar is back. It's actually, I don't think he's technically been announced that he's back, but he practiced all week and he's not on the injury report, whatever. Lamar's back. And I mean, that's obviously huge for the Ravens. This is as must win as it gets for the Ravens. And I think it's very fair. The Ravens are favored by 6.5 points. The Bears, this is from Courtney Cronin, who's ESPN Chicago. She tweeted that Kyler Gordon is out. The Bears also have Tyreek Stevenson out, Cole Kmet, Roshan Johnson, Braxton Jones, all out for the Bears. And obviously that's huge to have 2 corners out, a running back, left tackle, and a tight end. That's big loss, especially for a team coming off of a bye, getting a multiple-time league MVP winner at the quarterback position back. Chicago's defense has also forced 15 turnovers in the last 4 games, so big-time credit where it's due. I don't think that's going to sustain in this game, especially with Lamar back. I just don't think the defense is going to force 3 turnovers or 4 turnovers in this game. I have a question for the Bears. This is how they're going to be able to win the game, is can they continue to run the football the way they have over the past couple of weeks? Because I do want to give a big credit to the Bears offense for running the ball the way they have, whether it was against Washington in week 6 or the Saints last week in week 7. And the Ravens are 28th in run defense EPA. So we'll see how that works out. But this is as must win as it gets for the Ravens because, I know they're 1-5, but they can be 6-5 at pretty much the snap of a finger if they win this game, because their schedule is at Miami on Thursday night. Miami is what they are. Then they go to Minnesota. We are horrendous right now. Hopefully JJ gets us back, but Baltimore can definitely win that game. Then they go to Cleveland. That's a very winnable game for obvious reasons. And then they play home against the Jets. So you win this game, 6-5 is right there. And we'll see how everything plays out. But look, backs against the wall. I'm not going to bet against Lamar Jackson at home coming off of a bye against a very banged up team. I think the Ravens win this one. And I wouldn't be surprised to see if they win by 10.
Yeah, I think it's my favorite, not to spoil my Patreon picks that my loyal patrons pay good money for every week, but this has got to be my favorite bet of the week, man. I know, like, I'm a Packers fan. I'm Mr. Bears hater and all that. I really don't think my analysis would tell you I'm a Bears hater over the last 6 years. But I just, this is screams Ravens to me, man. Like you said, with the motivation factor with the upcoming schedule, they're coming off the bye. I just love the matchup against this Bears defense. I think they're going to be able to get some nuclear strikes in this one from Lamar against this defense that they just haven't been going against good offenses recently, man. And yeah, they played the Commanders, but I mean, the Commanders had some success against the Bears, and they were without Terry in that game too. I don't know. I think the Bears defense has depended on a lot of turnovers that I don't think they're going to be able to count on in this game. And Caleb's got to play better as a passer, man, because if they get in trail mode in this game, I get that the Bears are winning games. Caleb's playing better than he did last year. They're making some steps. They're 4-2. I'm not trying to be all doom and gloom on the Bears, man, but we're talking about going into Baltimore and beating a team that this is not a 1-5 football team. Like, get that out of your damn minds. They played two of the best teams in the league, played them tight for the first 2 weeks, and then Lamar gets hurt. Like, throw the record aside. This is a fresh start for the Ravens, man. They are looking at this like a new season in this game. So I think this is going to be one of those vintage, like 49-24 Ravens victories that we look back on like, yeah, how did we not see that coming? So I'm all over Baltimore in this one.
Somebody did comment that we're NFC North haters. The Bears are going to win, which I thought was funny. And I'm an NFC North hater, by the way. I had the
sorry to cut you off. As we both picked the Bears to beat the Commanders a couple of weeks ago, by the way.
But in that game, we were Commander haters.
Yep, exactly.
So, and by the way, I had the Lions as my Super Bowl pick last year. But anyway, it is what it is.
All right. Let's go to the Browns-Patriots game. When I first saw this, I was like, gross. And then the more I thought about it, I got excited for this one because I wrote down. So I've been very pro Patriots for the last few weeks. I love everything they're doing, but this is a different type of test. So I looked at their 5 wins. Their wins have come against the Dolphins, the Panthers, the Bills, the Saints, and the Titans. Obviously some lower teams in there than better teams, but it's not even so much about like how good are the Pats. Their schedule's been a fluke, all this stuff. It's about the pass rushes that they've gone against. The Dolphins, third. I just went off of PFF pass rushing grade, but just off the bat, I would say these are 5 of the worst pass rushes in the league. But the PFF pass rushing grades confirm that. The Dolphins are 31st. The Panthers are 30th. The Saints are 32nd. So literally the bottom 3 there. The Titans are 17th, but that is all carried by Jeffrey Simmons, who's having a huge season, who played 12 snaps and left the game last week against the Patriots. So you're probably talking about 29th, 30th without Jeffrey Simmons. So probably the bottom 4. And then the Bills are 7th. I disagree that the Bills have the 7th best pass rush in the NFL. That's heavily carried by Joey Bosa, who's having a great year, but did not play well against the Patriots in their matchup. So this is a different test for this Patriots offense. I do think they win this game one way or another, but I'm really excited to see Myles Garrett go against Will Campbell. He's obviously had a very good year, but as we just broke down, they haven't played the best pass rushes. So how does that matchup shake down? Can Drake May continue to play at the level he's played at this season against a defense that is still very good in the Cleveland Browns? I'm just excited to see it, man. I'm not expecting a big day for Cleveland's offense. On the flip side, I think Mike Vrabel has these guys flying around. So even if the Patriots offense comes down to earth a little bit, I still think that New England can win this game 17-13 or something like that, especially at home here. So I'm staying away from the spread in this one, but I'm picking the Patriots and excited to see, because Drake May is balling right now. He's maybe been the best QB in the league for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, he's definitely in the MVP conversation. And my biggest thing with the Browns is, look, they put up more than 17 points for the first time since December 2nd of last year. But I mean, that was 2 through 3 interceptions, and it was a genuinely terrible game by the Dolphins offense. And it's not like Cleveland was moving the football around in a big way. I mean, they had less than 230 yards of offense, and there was one point in the game where Tua he threw an interception. They were at a highlight break showing the interception, and then while like in real time, he was throwing another interception as the highlight was being shown of the previous interception. So Cleveland, I mean, like again, credit where it's due. They took advantage of the mistakes. You're not going to get that from this Patriots team, not from a Mike Vrabel team, not from Drake May the way he's playing. At least it would be a significant outlier compared to everything we've seen. I think this is Cleveland can keep it within 4 points. It's usually like 4 to 5 is the big one in terms of like the spreads, if you will. I think they can keep it within 4 points at half, but I think New England pulls away in the second half. I don't trust the Browns offense to really just keep up with New England in the second half, but that's just me. I would take the Patriots with the spread. I think 24-13 is very fair for this game.
Okay. I will say too, Cleveland should be motivated. A lot of these teams kind of lose motivation with a 2-5 record around this time. Maybe it's a little too early for that, but if the Packers can beat the Steelers on Sunday night, the AFC North is still absolutely wide open for anybody to keep playing hard and win that thing. So they're still in it.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen. Rodgers is going to get his against his former team. All right. Anyway, Colts Titans.
That's sneaky.
So we have a little inverse record here. I just saw that with the 1-6, 6-1. Look, I mean, Indy's favored by 14.5. I mean, here's what I wrote down here. Indy's in the driver's seat. They smoked Tennessee by 21 points earlier this year. Tennessee's run for 100 yards just once in 2025. They've scored 20 points just twice this year. One was the kind of, I would personally say, fluke game against the Cardinals, in which we all know how that transpired. They've had more than 300 yards of offense just once. I think Michael Pittman summarized the Titans best earlier this year. He said that, in pregame warmups, we went out there in Nashville, that we saw before the game how they were moving. We knew we were going to beat them. It's not an exaggeration to say that if Mike McCoy and the Titans somehow, some way pull off this upset with the way the Colts have been playing, this would be one of the biggest upsets since this decade. Not this year, this decade. There's not a lot to say really, other than the Titans are what they are. This roster is not good. I do want to say though specifically, Dan Moore has played a lot better than I thought he would, all things considered. He's been fine. He's not even close to the Titans' biggest problems. But when you look at the maximization of the talent that each roster has, Quentin Nelson and Tanner Bortolini have been absolutely mauling guys in the run game. And I very much expect the Colts to be up, I would say, at least a touchdown, if not more, by midway through the middle of the second quarter. And at that point, continue the Jonathan Taylor Offensive Player of the Year trend, campaign, if you will. Feed JT. Wouldn't be surprised if Daniel Jones doesn't have that big of a day, not because he hasn't been having a good year, that he's not capable of it. I just think this is a game where Indy rolls. Somebody said 38-7. I don't think it's going to be a 31-point game, but they beat them 41-20 earlier in the year. I'm thinking somewhere like 34-17, 34-14. Tennessee is, I think that this is in a lot of ways similar to what we said with the Browns a couple of weeks ago. Indy gets to 20 points. They should be good.
Yeah. Also, not even mentioned, I'm pretty sure Calvin Ridley and Jeffrey Simmons are out. I got nothing else to add.
That's what I mean. It's
the only prayer is that these two teams seem to have a tie or go to overtime every year.
There was a game last year. It was like week 16, weeks somewhere in there. It was one of them was up like 38. Somebody did say 38-7. I actually think it was 38-7 at one point, and then the final was 38-30 because they just kept letting them get back in the game. That's nowhere close to what Indy is this year, and we're midway through the year. You can't really sit here and talk about the 2024 version. You have to go off of what's in front of you. The Titans are a bad team. Mike McCoy to me is not a rah like interim head coach guy. I think there's some value to the rah interim head coach guys. Mike McCoy doesn't do it for me.
No, he was the analyst. He was the offensive analyst,
right? And it's
promoted. Yeah,
like I said, if somehow Tennessee pulls off this upset, not an exaggeration to say one of the biggest upsets this decade.
Yep, so I'm with you.
Indy rolls.
All right, Tampa at New Orleans. Tampa just 4.5-point favorites in this one. New Orleans has been in a one-score game in all of their home games this year. As we know, tough place to play down there in the Dome against a division rival here. So that's kind of what you're leaning on for the Saints in this one is, that bad blood division game type of deal, that it's closer than you think. I think for Tampa, they're going to have a lot to play for after a rough week last week. I don't think Baker's going to play as bad as he played against Detroit. I think, New Orleans does not have the pass rush that Detroit has and certainly showed last week is insane with Aleem McNeil out there wrecking things. But I think, Baker should have a lot of time to throw, pretty solid day. This is the really interesting thing in this game is the two quarterbacks coming off a bad, like their worst game of the year by far. So can Baker respond? I have a lot of confidence that he's going to be able to do that. And if he does, they should win this game. Spencer Rattler is maybe a little more fascinating where it's like, kind of makes me think of like, remember the Josh Dobbs? I mean, of course you do. The Josh Dobbs Vikings run where it was like, wow, this guy out of nowhere is playing a lot better than we expected. And then all of a sudden kind of felt like teams kind of figured him out. And there was nothing left. Maybe that's the case with Spencer Rattler. I'm not saying it is, but after a 6 turnover worthy play game last week, how does he respond? And if he doesn't, then we're gonna get to start, having some legitimate Tyler Shook fascination in this one. But yeah, I think it's not going to be easy for the Bucs. The Saints have been competitive at home. I probably wouldn't touch the 4.5 point spread just because of backdoor cover potential and all that stuff. But yeah, I think 26-20 rough range for Tampa.
I agree. I do want to say, so I have a super chat here, and it's pertaining to this game. Vincent asks curious about your thoughts on this with Spencer Rattler since the game last week, and basically has your opinion changed? Because I sat here last week and dude, the game he had against the Patriots was impressive. And we did mention last week that Dennis Allen was the Saints head coach last year. I think that there is some merit to a now DC former head coach playing against a young quarterback in today's NFL. I really think that there is something to that. So in some ways, I wasn't surprised to see Rattler have the game that he had last week. The one interception with about 4 minutes left to play, there's no defending that, whether you're going against Dennis Allen or whoever. That was legitimately awful. But where I am with Spencer Rattler right now, because I don't want to be like extremely, extremely overreactionary and say 1 week later that I'm out on a guy. Where I am is, we're 7 games in. We know the Saints, it's a rebuilding year. We knew playoffs were really, if we're being honest, playoffs are not in the conversation this year. Where I am is I want to see like 3 or 4 more games from Rattler. Assuming it's not another, 3 interception game. If there's another 3 interception game, then that's a different conversation. But I want to see like 10 or 11 starts from him this year. And then if you are only like 1-16 at that point or whatever, it would be 1-14 through 15 starts. And it would be time to go to Tyler Shough. So that's where I stand with Rattler right at this point. But it was really discouraging to see him have the game that he had against the Patriots with the big time throws that he had to stink it up the very next game. So this, in a lot of ways, it's in some ways it's kind of a not now or never, but now or very close to being never for Spencer Rattler with the Saints starting job, I would say.
Yeah, it's the reality of the situation. I mean, it's in many ways unfair to him because the reality of the situation is they spent a top 40 pick on Tyler Shough,
right,
and they're looking at potentially having the number 1 pick this year. If they don't even play the guy,
right,
like it's just a bad look for everybody involved. So it's just, again, the reality of the situation. He's going to have a very short leash. Like he's now had the bad game. I don't think they would pull him in this game, but if he looks like he did against the Bears again, that would be it. In my opinion, I think they would almost be forced into Tyler Shough time, which I'm excited for when it happens, because I think it will happen. And I love Tyler Shough, but Rattler's done a good job to hold him off for the majority of this season. Okay. Really fun game here. Dallas, Denver Broncos.
Oh, whoa. I was going to take Jets Bengals.
Oh, sorry. All right, everybody, you got to wait. You got to wait for that.
I was going to take the game of the week, baby. I was going to take the game of the week.
Take it.
Jets Bengals. Look, here's the deal. Jets Bengals. A lot of anticipation.
Joe Flacco revenge game.
Exactly. I do have that written down. That is written down. That's actually the second note that I have written down. I don't know. Did you see by chance who's starting for the Jets at quarterback this week?
They won't tell us.
Okay, there you go. I was gonna say it's a
Yeah.
trick question because Aaron Glenn did not commit because he wants the Bengals to have to prepare for both Tyrod and Justin Fields. I'm gonna be honest. This is a very bad situation for the Jets. This is awful, all the way around. Right now, Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner both out in this game, and I don't know how the Jets are going to be able to put up points. That receiving core is awful, and there's a couple of teams this year, like the bad teams in the NFL. It's kind of like the rest of the NFL, and then the bad teams. And outside of Garrett Wilson, I mean, we're talking about Josh Reynolds, Arian Smith. This is a very bad. Just outside of the Jets, like 7 to 8 guys they have. There's a reason that they're 0-7. And there's also, I mean, you saw the Woody Johnson quote this week about, we just need a quarterback to complete a pass. And I feel bad for Justin Fields, the human being, like to be able to go through that and to sit there and the embarrassment of that and just everything with that. But there's no positive way to spin this situation right now for the Jets, especially with Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner both out. Woody Johnson, apparently this also came out this week, that he apparently hugs Aaron Glenn to give him encouragement, like every day. That's weird. I can't imagine that that's happening in every facility from an NFL owner standpoint. For Cincinnati, pretty straightforward. Feed Jamar and T, get the 17 points, you win this game. That's the reality of the situation, man. The Bengals.
Yeah.
This is another one where, look, I know the Bengals defense is bad, but I would encourage Bengals fans to watch the Jets play the first, I would say, 3 quarters of a game, because typically teams will let off the clutch of the throttle in the fourth quarter, like at the start of the fourth quarter. And that's typically when the Jets start to like score points. It's bad, man. And then the Bengals right now, they're off a mini bye. They have a chance to improve to 4-4. And the Bengals, look, I said a couple weeks ago, I'm not selling all their stock. I don't think they're going to the Super Bowl, but right now they win this game the way they should. They improve to 4-4. They play the Bears next week. They can improve to 5-4. And after that, who knows? Then they play at Pittsburgh off the bye. I mean, any team off the bye. I mean, you saw Joe Flacco did to the Steelers last week, and then they play the Patriots. You never know with how good Jamar Chase, T. Higgins are. You never know. But one game at a time, I would be pretty surprised if the Bengals don't win this game. And 6.5 points with no Garrett Wilson, no Sauce Gardner. I like 6.5 a lot.
Yeah. I'm excited to see if Joe Flacco can keep it going. I think he's playing the best regular season football of his career. Obviously had that Super Bowl run for the Ravens. Was a bit of an outlier on how he typically played, but I'm it's going to be fun to see how many times Brandon Stephens gets targeted in this game. Now, to be fair, Brandon Stephens is playing much better in the last month. I'll give that to him. However, obviously a different challenge with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins here. Those guys got 33 combined targets last week. But we saw this when the Steelers went up against the Jets. They were like, oh, we know Brandon Stephens. We know what he's capable of. We've seen him. We've seen plenty of him in this division. I'm curious to see if that looks the same for the Bengals and how he's able to hold up as this team's number 1 corner this week. Get to see probably a little bit more of the rookie Azariah Thomas in a damn near impossible matchup. So I agree that the really only thing that would send this thing awry is if Joe Flacco regresses back to kind of who we thought he was when they acquired him. But there's really no signs that that's going to happen here. So Jets defense is playing a little bit better as of late, but again, without Sauce Gardner, it's going to be tough. So, yep, I'm with you. Okay. Now
the real matchup.
Waited. Now those that waited. Is this, I'm going to ask you this, and I want you to answer it. Is this the best offense in the NFL versus the best defense in the NFL?
I would say best offense, yes. Defense, yeah, probably, yeah. Honestly, yes. I mean, the thing is, the Broncos, they can run a little hot and cold at times defensively, just because, last week with the Giants, and then there's also times where they inexplicably, I feel like, give up points to teams they shouldn't. But the Cowboys. Anybody that wants to make a joke about like the Cowboys, they're legit. Like you cannot take this team lightly at all. So I think it's very fair. I'm looking forward to this.
I think they're super similar to last year's Bengals team with the QB wide receiver duo and a horrible defense and an ownership group that can't get out of their own way.
I like that.
But I think Denver last week, like, yes, a lot of points in that game. A lot of fluky plays. I'll just say that eventually it can happen. You have a ball gets deflected
Yeah,
and it turns into a 60-yard touchdown. You had a kind of a coverage bust off a good play action call from Brian Dable. You had a one run get sprung open for 60 yards. I still think the down to down defense was very good for Denver last week. So I'm not really worried about it. But yeah, powerhouse matchup, dude. You get this defense with, like, I'm super excited to see, especially how they use Patrick Surtain. It's always fascinating to me when you have a superstar corner like this and you're going against, an offense with playmakers like this. How do you want to play that? Do you just kind of play your style? You just kind of let the offense come to you. Sometimes that can work. Sometimes it doesn't. What I would love to see them do, and I'm just curious to track this, I would put Pat Surtain on Pickens, because I think that's a really good matchup. I don't think Pickens is necessarily the separator type in a one-on-one situation that CD is. So I would just lock up Pickens with Pat Surtain, and then I would just double team CD Lamb all day and see what sort of answers Dak and this offense can come up with. And they might have some answers. I mean, Ferguson's playing great. The offensive line's getting healthy. They have a run game. Denver has a really great run defense too. So that'll be a big part of this too. We want to focus on Dak and the receivers and all that, but a big part of the Cowboys' success is how well they're running the football. So there's a lot to see there. The Javonte Williams revenge game. I mean, it's a powerhouse matchup. I live for this, man. On the other side of things, I mean, the Cowboys defense stinks. The Broncos offense hasn't been playing all that great. I think there are a lot of flashes that Denver's offense can be the difference maker in this game. If you're going to kind of have a stonewall, head-to-head matchup there on the other side, I think the advantage would have to go to Denver's offense if they can come out and get off to a good start. But they have shown in the last 3 weeks, really, that they don't really know how to do that right now. So this should be a fun one. I'm going to take the Broncos just because I think it is head-to-head on that one side of the ball. And I like Denver's offense, especially as the home team here against Dallas's defense, but cannot wait for this one.
I am with you. I'm with you until one point. I love I'm a big fan whenever there's a good receiving duo to double, or I like the best corner on the second receiver and then double team the number one guy. So that is a strategy that I'm a big, I love the idea of that. And I hope that Denver implements that. Basically shadow Surtain with GP all game. And the Broncos are top 10 in both passing and rushing defensive EPA per play. Very much looking forward to this, but Bo Nix at times, and in the Broncos offense, not just Bo Nix, but they're really inconsistent at times. And there were a lot of takes last week from Broncos fans. Now I know, and I'm definitely not one to speak on this because I know that during games, if my team is laying an egg, I'm not going to sit here and be like, hey, let's be rational about this. There were a lot of takes last week about the Broncos, Sean Payton's always going to limit this team. We need Davis Webb to call plays, that type of thing. And then the fourth quarter happened. But I really think the Cowboys, man, they are a team that can put up 25 any given week. And one of the only times they didn't this year was against the Bears, in which they turned the ball over several times. And
deep in the Bears territory, by the
way. On top of it. And
yeah,
I'm going to be honest. I'm going to take the Cowboys on the road. I don't feel confident about it. So it's not like it's a 90-10 confidence. It's more like a 54-46 confidence percentile there, but it's going to be a hell of a game. And this is one that I'm really, really looking forward to.
I did get a super chat related to this game.
Oh, yeah.
Monty, thank you. He says, please tell me I'm not insane about Wattenberg sailing snaps and effing up the offensive timing. I haven't necessarily noticed it, but I'll keep an eye on it this week. Also, pointing out Singleton covering Ferguson on National Tight Ends Day could be a problem. I agree. That could be a matchup Dallas could exploit. Singleton has been brutal this year, the one weakness in that Denver defense. So good call out. All right. Where are you going next?
We're going to Monday night for Washington, Kansas City. Now, somebody did say, this is actually funny, the Bears are getting no credit for holding the Cowboys, and then they put stay classy on top of it, which is hilarious. So I guess we're on the Bears hate train this week. Anyway, I did credit the Bears earlier for forcing 15 turnovers in the last 4 games, but anyway.
Yeah, I mean, look, one of those interceptions bounced right off of George Pickens' hands and ended up getting picked. The other one was a sloppy play that got ripped out. Good effort, but and we're not saying the Bears didn't deserve to win that game. It's just turnovers can be fluky.
He did just comment in all caps, LMAO. Anyway. All right. Washington, Kansas City. This is a tough game here. If I'm being honest, Jaden Daniels out, Marcus Mariota in. And I mean, look, you're starting a backup quarterback you're going to a buzzsaw. I mean, the Chiefs just played one of the most dominant games that you will see a franchise play. That's not an exaggeration. I know people get sick of the Chiefs glaze and the Chiefs love and all that. I don't know if you like watched the game last week. I don't know, or not watched the game, but like truly paid attention to how dominant it was last week. The Raiders had less than 100 yards of offense. The Chiefs had 30 first downs to the Raiders' 30 plays, and 400 yards to less than 100 yards of offense. And I mean, look, I don't think it's going to be that bad this week. Obviously, I mean, that's kind of a rare game in itself. But I don't trust the Commanders to be able to go in and put up 20 plus points against the Chiefs defense, especially with the way that the Chiefs defense has played over the past couple of weeks. I mean, we're going on 4 out of 5 games now where the Chiefs have not allowed more than 20 points. Honestly, 5 out of 6. And even within that, there was a Devin Lloyd pick 6, a 99-yard pick 6, where the Chiefs were about to score. Credit to Devin Lloyd. We've established in the weekly previews how good of a year he's having. But within that game, the Chiefs lose by 3 in a game where there was a 99-yard pick 6. So in a lot of ways, that's, kind of the difference between them being 4-3 and 5-2 right now. They're playing a backup quarterback at home. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. They got Rashee Rice back last week. Not from an injury the way that the social media teams wanted to make it out to be, like it was some big miraculous return from Rashee Rice. I'll just leave it at that. But the Chiefs have put up 28 or more points in 3 of the last 4 games. And like we did just say, one of those games was the Devin Lloyd pick 6 in which they were about to score. So look, I just don't think the Washington Commanders are going to be in this game. I think it's going to be very much, hey, we are going to have to establish the run and hope that we don't get Mahomes, if you will, and just hope that, I almost knocked the picture off the wall. Anyway,
you did knock it.
But
or Justin, no.
Yeah, and basically just hope that we keep it close, and that's that one.
I think the only way that the Commanders win this game is if Marcus Mariota throws a touchdown to himself, as he did the last time he played in Arrowhead. Do you remember that?
I do, back in 2017. Fun. Good. First couple of rounds of the playoffs, not fun last couple.
Oh God, that was crazy. Freaking Vikings Minneapolis Miracle year, right?
News here. Hold on. AJ Brown ruled out. out.
Oh, delete the podcast. Start over.
Good comment, by the way. Good comment, Coaster Hour.
It does. It brings things a little bit closer for the G-men. But anyway, yeah. I'm with you, dude. Commanders are down very, very bad. We might have to have some pretty tough conversations about that. I mean, we already did this week, but this could be an even. People love to say it can't get worse. Sometimes it can get worse, and I think that could be the case in this one. All right.
And for what it's worth, I do want to say just one last thing. Both Terry McLaurin and Debo practiced this week, so even with them coming back, I don't think that it's like, oh, hey, we're getting the boys back. I mean, Marcus Mariota is still starting in Kansas City against the Chiefs defense that has been buzzing. So I'll just leave it at that.
It would take a ridiculous rallying call from Dan Quinn just to get a team effort. Like when they went to it in Atlanta and had like this crazy team win where you couldn't tackle them and they just were just surging like they were all on smelling salts or something. Like it would take something like that. But I don't know, man. It's going to be tough. All right. I'm going to get a little emotional. This is our last game here, right? Packers.
Save
Steelers.
the best for last.
I'm going to get a little emotional thinking about this game, man. This is going to be a trip down memory lane. Just quick tribute to Aaron Rodgers. I know he hasn't been the most likable off-field character for the last few years. I do love the way he's just kind of, playing ball, not making a lot of headlines this year. I think he's trying to go out on top. But just a tribute to Aaron Rodgers, who I will plant my flag and say, okay, he might not be the GOAT. We can't give that to him, obviously, with what Brady's done. And I think Mahomes has probably passed him in the GOAT conversation at this point too. But 2011 to 2016, I will plant my flag. Even 2010, including when he went on that Super Bowl run, the most dominant stretch of quarterback play we have ever seen. I will plant my flag with that, and I welcome your takes on that when we circle back to you. But
oh yeah, I got him.
All right. As far as this game is concerned, it's going to be a really interesting matchup. It's a 3-point spread. I think that's fair in Pittsburgh. They're coming off a long week, kind of embarrassing loss for their defense. I think that's really where you got to look in this game, is if the Steelers defense can shape up. They have been horrible defending the middle of the field in the passing game this year. The Packers do like to attack the middle of the field. So I think the onus is on the Packers offense to come out and kind of have a statement win in this one. I really think I'll come back to the defense in a second, but I think, the Packers got to start faster. They got to finish these drives. They keep driving early in games and then either going for it on 4th down and not getting it, or you had the one Love interception that was kind of forced and deflected and picked. They've kicked some field goals. They've had these slow starts and then just burst onto the scene in the second half of these games. I think I think they can win with that script, as we saw with like Arizona last week. They kind of pulled it out of their butt. But you don't want to have to live that way every week. I think Love is playing really well. He's got a chance in this game to kind of make a statement to a lot of the Jordan Love haters out there, which do exist, that, hey, this is a real deal type of offense here. Forget about the fact that this defense hasn't been playing, as a top 3 championship caliber defense. As long as they're good on defense, they have the type of offense to supplement that on their way to a big season here. But I think there's a chance for the Steelers to knock them off, by being better on that side of the ball. I don't think it's going to be an easy night for Jordan Love and company. Potentially a Christian Watson return this week. We'll see. I haven't heard too much there, but that could be another wrinkle to this offense, getting that vertical element. Want to see more and more and more and more Marcus Golden. Matthew Golden, Marcus Golden. Marcus Golden was he was doing the pregame ceremony for the Cardinals last week, actually, against the Packers. But no, want to see more Matthew Golden. Dobbs is playing great. Got to keep seeing that from him. But anyway, I did want to at least mention the other side of things. I don't think it's going to be a huge feel-good night for Aaron Rodgers in this one. He's been mostly quiet as the QB of this team, just trying to make plays where he's needed. I do think the Packers are going to do a good job, as they've done this season, shutting down the early down production that the Steelers offense has had success with, the run game, the play action boot game. That really hasn't been the Packers' issue this year. That's led to some of these more so-so defensive performances. It's more of like offenses are getting to 3rd down and just launching missiles into the second level and challenging the secondary. And these DBs just keep week after week failing to make plays on the ball. They're allowing a contested catch win rate against them of 62% the last 3 weeks. That's absurd. And I don't know that that's necessarily going to change. I don't know that they have the DBs on the back end. However, I do think, you're talking about T. Higgins and Jamar Chase in 1 week. You had Pickens was going off against them. Even last week, you had Marvin Harrison made some good catches, and Michael Wilson, maybe not a superstar, but he is good at contested catches. He had some great plays last week. I look at the Steelers receiving core, and I do question if they can necessarily do that. That's actually been the biggest point of frustration with DK Metcalf is the ball skills, and when he is covered, making those tough catches. Like I said, I think that's how you attack this Packers defense. DK Metcalf is at 42.9% contested catch win rate this year. He's a 42.8% career guy. We saw last week, he had the interception like ripped out of his hands when it was right there. He's strangely one of the softest wide receivers at the catch point, despite his size. It's one of the biggest anomalies in the sport. So I don't know that the Steelers necessarily have the offensive infrastructure to attack them in the way that they've been a little more vulnerable in recent weeks. So I think as long as the Packers offense can live up to the billing in this one, I think Green Bay should win. But I'm gonna stay away from betting this one. Could go either way.
So I'm going to be honest. I think all the signs point to Green Bay winning this game for all the reasons you aligned. I think Green Bay can, whether they want to run the football, pass the football. The Steelers defense in week 7 was atrocious. Now, I have said countless times that I am largely against 2 division games in 5 days. I think that's not fair to anybody, not just the Steelers. I think that that's an extreme disservice. But this, in a lot of ways, is a big test for the Steelers. I mean, obviously the Ravens game is going to be played by this point. I mean, you can say what you want, but you're going to at least be paying attention a little bit with Lamar Jackson back. Okay, how good do the Ravens look heading into this game? How much room do we have? That type of thing. I mean, there's a human element to this, and people can say what they want, but the outside noise will at least be there. Are the Ravens creeping up? Are the Bengals now 4-4? This is a huge game for Pittsburgh, obviously coming off of how bad they played defensively against the Bengals. Now, I think this is also, having said that I think all the signs point to Green Bay, this is also a classic Mike Tomlin game. All the signs point to the other team. I think Green Bay is a more talented roster than Pittsburgh, but they're coming off the game against the Bengals. People are doubting the Steelers. This is a classic get ugly, have it be a Pittsburgh Steeler football game, maybe even a double renegade in the fourth quarter.
Teams.
Yes, exactly. This is like I said, Pittsburgh Steelers, smash mouth, Western PA football weather. And like I said, maybe a double renegade in the fourth quarter, especially because of against Aaron Rodgers' former team. This is one where I'm like holding my nose taking it. People are going to say because I'm a Vikings fan that I'm taking the Steelers. But look, I think this is a classic, just Mike Tomlin. It makes no sense. It usually happens once, sometimes twice a year. And I think the Steelers win. The Steelers beat the Ravens last year at home. They won 18-16. The Ravens had multiple turnovers in that game. Then they went down to Landover to beat the Commanders the very following week. Sometimes it doesn't make sense with the Steelers. I'm going to go with the Steelers to win.
I don't think it's crazy at all. And I interjected there with the special teams comment because I could totally see it, right? That is the Packers' biggest Achilles heel.
Yeah.
I think it was Mike Sando shared the QB betrayal index is something he does, basically ranking quarterbacks as far as like how much their defense and special teams has let them down this year. Jordan Love ranked, I think 22nd on the betrayal index. Like, he was top 10 in terms of being betrayed, basically,
right?
Which is crazy because the Packers are like, yeah, the Cowboys game happened. Of course, that's going to hurt that. But other than that, their defense has been really good. They're top 5 in basically any sort of EPA, DVOA. The fact that they're a top 5 defense and the special teams leaves them as the 22nd in betrayal index, that goes to show you how the blocked field goals, the starting field position, it is unbelievable how bad the Packers special teams is, and you can't understate that. So you could see it. 3 Chris Boswell 55-yard field goals, and then a blocked field goal for Green Bay getting returned for a touchdown, that type of deal, deciding this game.
I absolutely could. And to go back to your 2011 through 2016 Aaron Rodgers part, this is more like 2016. Yeah, 2016. The adrenaline that used to like flow through my veins seeing Everson Griffin and Danielle Hunter like steam off the edge. And then when Rodgers would get sacked, not when he got hurt in 2017, I'm not talking about that at all, but like when they would sack him and you would see Rodgers, like you would see him just like slam the football on the ground, like after like a 3rd and 7 sack. I did nothing like it. Just nothing like seeing him go down for a sack and get up, by the way, not the whole Anthony Barr, not talking about that, but the, like, just seeing him just pissed off and like knowing that. And sometimes like his helmet would like come up to where like his
the chin strap, like covering his mouth. Yeah. Yep.
And he would just be so mad. Those were the days. Those were the days. US Bank Stadium opener 2016, Trey Wayne's interception, game sealing. Yeah. Those were
Am I nuts though? Best stretch of QB play we've ever seen.
Wait, what?
Am I nuts though for my take?
Oh no, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah. The confidence that you would have that you were going to win no matter what when he was playing at that level. It's just
I don't like him for a reason. Like it's like non-flashbacks. Like the meme, it's like if I actually sit and think about it, dude, the worst loss that we ever had by far, it was the Thursday night game 2014. And the fact that I can just sit here and like recall this, it's because of the damage that he has done to me as a Vikings fan. 2014 Thursday night, Teddy gets hurt on Sunday. We go into Lambeau. Christian Ponder starts. Already not good. We're starting Ponder in year 4. It was not ideal. We were down like 42-0 midway through the third quarter. Roger said it was bad. It was bad.
Yeah.
Yep. But anyway, that will wrap up the week 8 stream. If you guys are still here, please like the stream on both Marcus and I's channel. Helps each of our channels tremendously. Cannot thank you guys enough for the support. And like I said, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Please comment below any hot takes you have for week 8. And until next time, as always, please be safe.
I do have a plug. I do have a quick plug. You guys, right as we hit end here, I'm dropping my quarterback tier maker video on the main channel.
We go.
So don't go anywhere. Stay on the main page. It's literally going to be like 10 seconds.
Refresh the page.
Yeah, that's a thing now, apparently. Great refresh.
So,
have you been made aware of this?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure you have. All right. Thank you, guys. Great show. Peace out.
Love you guys.